Welcome to There Is a Method to the Madness. My name is Rob Maxwell. I'm an exercise physiologist and personal trainer. I'm the owner of Maxwell's Fitness Programs. I've been in business since 1994. Purpose of this podcast is to educate you on what really works, what doesn't work, what is the science behind things, and to just help you make good decisions on what you should be doing with your fitness and your wellness. Today, I am handling question number 2 of the week, which is, could electrolytes be making you constipated? And I'll go into when we should use them. Before I get to that, let me thank Jonathan and Lynn Gilden of the Gilden Group at Realty Pros. They currently have over 280 5-star reviews on Zillow. They are sponsors of the MaxFit Games. They do so much in the community. We really should help them out if we need any real estate help. They can be reached at 386-451-2412. Hit me up anytime. I'll get you their number. All right, so let's get into electrolytes. Now, electrolytes are minerals. That's basically what they are. And what they do is they help you stay hydrated. So sodium, potassium, phosphorus, those are the main minerals that make up electrolytes, okay? Sodium, potassium, phosphorus, all right? Those are the biggies. So what they do is they help us retain water where we should retain water. Now, yes, I mean, the first question is, do they make you constipated? Okay, so yes and no. I mean, they could, and here's why. So if you're taking a lot of sodium in, that can definitely take some of the hydration out of certain cells, out of the stomach, so we don't have as much liquid, we don't have as much water to help us break down our food. So potentially, yes, anytime we're on a higher sodium diet, they can make us constipated. Plus, depending on your situation, meaning like everybody's a little bit different, there's a possibility for taking a different supplement, eating a new food, drinking a new drink to make you constipated. So there's always that possibility how our body reacts to certain things. But again, that's just my experience. But the scientific answer is they're not supposed to make you constipated, but anytime there's a higher quantity of sodium, that can happen. So it depends on the electrolyte and the sodium content and how much you're drinking with it. But yeah, I mean, it is a possibility. And like anything, it's trial and error. So if you think that could be the cause and you don't necessarily need the electrolyte, which is where I'm going to go here next, because I think that's ultimately the most important thing, then I would try process of elimination, eliminate it, and see if that helps. Now, one mistake I see people doing is, look, electrolytes taste good, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, no sodium by itself, potassium, phosphorus, those are minerals, as I said. They don't necessarily taste good. But electrolyte drinks, whether they come in what are very popular now, Nuuns, N-U-U-N, Nuuns. Hey, you try saying that real quick. Anyway, those are super popular. There's lemon lime, there's fruit punch, there's grape, there's all these different flavors. So they taste good. I mean, they definitely add a little bit of flavor to water if you don't like drinking plain water. And then, of course, there are other brands. There's Liquid IV they sell. That's pretty good. There's all these different brands you can get. I'm clearly the most familiar with Nuuns. And then, of course, there's the old school Gatorades, which really are just really super high sugar drinks. But they do have electrolytes in them. And then there are more sports drinks that have been around for a while that are like Gatorade, but they're only 8% carbohydrate versus 100% carbohydrate. And they're more true electrolyte drinks, all right? But what this client was referring to, and what we're really talking about now in 2023, are these pure electrolyte tablets that you drop into water, and or you mix a little powder like you would a liquid IV. They're not necessarily high carbohydrate. They're pure electrolyte, where the old school electrolyte drinks were just basically sports drink, which is fine. People need those. These are more like lower calorie, low carbohydrate, more like 15 calories per tablet or per bag, and pretty darn high in sodium, potassium, phosphorus. So that's what we're really talking about. Now, a mistake I see people make, I mean, it's not a huge mistake, but like electrolytes are to replace the sodium that we lose. Now, and that's important. If we're exercising in the Florida summer heat, in the middle of the day, oh man, it's brutal. But even in the morning, it's really hot. Most mornings this summer when I went out to train, whether it be on the trail, to bike or run on the weekends, that's when I tend to do my endurance stuff, it was already 80 degrees at 6 a.m. So that's hot. And by the time I get in first part of the workout, it's in the mid 80s with 100% humidity. So it's really hot, and it's definitely 90s by the time I'm finishing. When we're exercising outdoors, we need electrolytes, because if we just drink pure water, we can actually cause ourselves some damage because we're losing so much sodium. And when we lose sodium and we don't replenish the sodium, that can become a very scary situation. Not to alarm you, but there is a condition called hyponatremia, and that is water intoxication. That means that you have a lot of water in your system, but not a lot of sodium, and that can literally become fatal for some people. I'm not talking like you drink 3 extra bottles of water, you need to watch out for it. I'm talking about when somebody is usually training or racing in the heat, and they're doing nothing but drinking water, and they're not drinking any electrolytes. That can become a big problem if they're drinking a lot of water, all right? So we definitely have to include our electrolytes when we're doing that. But what I see oftentimes is people have the electrolytes when they're training at the gym. That's just not necessarily important to do. I mean, it doesn't necessarily hurt, but it is added calories that maybe a person doesn't need. You know, it goes back to like 30 years ago. We used to see people a lot drinking Gatorade while they're working out, and then they tell us they're trying to lose weight. But they're told, oh, well, Gatorade's good for me. And I'd say, you know, I hate to break it to you, but regular Gatorade is really not that much different than a Coca-Cola. You're drinking pure sugar. They didn't know. They really didn't know. They're thinking they're doing something right by taking in a sports drink. But the reality is, if you're training inside and you're training for an hour or less, water's fine. You really don't need the electrolytes. If you want them and you can spare them, meaning that you're not trying to lose weight, you might be trying to gain weight or just maintain your weight, then fine, go for it. They're just not going to do you a lot of good. And that's what I like to do on the Method to the Madness, is why are we doing things? We need electrolytes if we're losing our sodium. That's why we need electrolytes. If we're training indoors, unless you go to like some, you know, CrossFit box, and I'm not knocking them, I'm just saying that those guys work out like in a garage style environment. It is not AC, it's more in a warehouse. So you know what I mean by outside. I mean, that's technically inside, but it's really outside. That's different. You're going to need your electrolytes. But if you're in a climate controlled environment and you're working out, and if you're not sweating a whole lot, you're probably not losing a lot of sodium. So I would say don't do it unless you really love the flavor or whatever. So we should only use things that we really, really need. Now, having said that, I do think it is not a bad idea to start your day with an electrolyte tablet, because when we do wake up, we do tend to be dehydrated. In the email this morning, I gave the tip to drink a big glass of water. Absolutely. If you want, you can add an electrolyte tablet at that point, because that might help you get more hydrated. But again, if you're trying to lose weight, you may not want the extra calories, even if it's just 15. But outside of that, water is good indoors and under an hour. Electrolytes are important for outdoors and or over an hour. All right? And yes, it can potentially make you constipated. And just to finish that up, if that's the only change in the diet, well then absolutely that is what's doing it, because you're basically sucking all the water out of your intestines. That's what you're basically doing. Okay? Now I want to thank Overhead Door of Daytona Beach. Zach and Jeff Hawk are the owners. They give the best customer service around. If you need a garage door or if you need your garage door looked at, give Overhead Door Daytona a shout. They've been in business for 100 years. Their phone number is 386-226-3820.